Welcome back, viewers. And again, I'm reminding you it's Friday, 5th of July, just in case you got up a bit confused this morning, and it's about business. And I always say, I know how we treat Fridays on this beautiful island. Yes, we love to just relax, but we have some serious conversations to have this morning on GMT, and I want you to stick around. Our first guest this morning in studio here with us is no stranger to us. Of course, she's speaking to us in a bit of a different capacity this morning. It is Assemblyman Nathisha Carhles-Pantin, who is the Secretary of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment, and Sustainable Development. I always say that's a very long name for a department. Welcome and good morning.
Good morning, Natalie. Good morning, Bagatelle. Good morning, Tobago.
And of course, this morning she is here to speak to us about T.P.P, internal elections, and that will be this Sunday, July 7th. So let me ask right away, how are you involved in this process? And just to remind our viewers the date and the time.
Okay, so I am the team lead, and I just want to remind the Tobago electorate, the Tobago People Party electorate, that the elections will take place this Sunday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Right? And we have specific polling stations. So permit me to just read them out.
Yes.
Right? So you have the Bonaccord Primary School and the community residents of Bonaccord, Crown Point, Buku, Mount Pleasant. You will be voting there. At the Dixieland Pantent Theatre, that's by the Carmby Mount Pleasant Community Center. The communities Lambo, Lowlands, Bethel, Newgrange, Signal Hill, Patience Hill. You will be voting there. Calder Hall Multipurpose Complex, the community of Scarborough, Mount Grace, Bagatelle, Bacalet, Darrell Spring, Wim, you will be voting there. Delaforte Anglican School, community residents of Charlotteville, Speyside, Delaforte, Roxborough, Argyle, you'll be voting there. Goodwood Secondary School, you'll be the communities of Belgarden, Glamorgan, Mount St. George, and Goodwood, you'll be voting there. Blackrock Multipurpose Facility, communities of Plymouth, Blackrock, Bethesda, Lekito, you will be voting there. And Mason Hall Community Center, the communities Mariah, Mason Hall, residents of Castara, Palotoville, Lansfomie, you will be voting there.
Right. So from what you shared, I realized that specific communities have specific polling stations.
Correct.
So members, of course, need to be aware of such. How will they be aware, or what type of communication mechanism is out there to ensure that if I'm a person who has to vote, and let's say I'm supposed to vote Scarborough area, but I'm running errands and I figure, well, let me slip in wherever you have, whatever you have in the West, you know.
Yes. So people will refer them to their polling stations.
Okay.
Yes, so you can't just go anywhere and vote, and that's to ensure that we have a smooth process. Right, it's not to deny you of voting. And those at the furthest end of the island, we're talking about Palotoville, Lansfomie,
Right.
Charlotteville. Transportation will be provided for you, and you can be updated as usual on WhatsApp, on all different platforms, Facebook, Instagram, so you will be notified.
Okay, so for those of you who are invested in this process, of course, you know the social media platforms that you should check to get this. And of course, you can always look at this interview later on throughout the day on Tobago Updates right here to get that information. So we're talking about internal election, and we know that process is important for, you know, for organizations to continue to thrive and to set plans in motion. Last week, Sunday, was the original date for these elections. It was postponed. Can you share with us, because some people may make assumptions, but I still want you to clarify why that date was changed.
And that's fine. The assumptions and perceptions, sometimes there are a little bit of relevance in them. So if you're assuming that the elections, it was postponed until this Sunday because of the inclement weather, you are correct.
Right.
And that would demonstrate responsible leadership. No political leader, interim political leader or chief secretary would engage in such a process during a disaster, any act of God.
Yeah.
So it would give sufficient time for the candidates to campaign, and of course to clear up anything that they would have or the electorate would have in terms of information leading up to the elections, right? So if those were your assumptions, you were correct.
Right. And how does one become eligible to be a part of the voting process?
So there was a timeline within which people had to register online and also on paper, and that timeline has closed. So those that were able to meet that deadline, you are now eligible to vote, but you can still become a member by signing up at any time to join the party, right?
Yeah.
Nobody should prevent you from doing so.
Right. So those of you who are bona fide members, registered members of this political party, you know what you need to do on Sunday. And for those of you who didn't meet that deadline and have interest, you know, of course, you know, you can follow through. And where is the office located for those who may want to go into office to find out more information?
So the office is located at the TLH building, right? That's the headquarters.
Okay.
And of course, we have ads going out with a link that you can call all the time. And of course, you can message, WhatsApp, any member that you know. So you know myself, I'm always getting messages. So, you know, people, there's no misconception with that, right? We have other persons, Mr. Richard Alfred, Sitika Williams, all excellent leads as well. You know, a lot of people on the Internal Elections Committee that would have provided support, Jason Nancy's, right? Familiar names. Steve Jack. So you have a lot of us involved,
right?
And even as team lead, we were really happy as the entire committee to serve in this capacity. And in going forward, should anyone want to become part of this T.P.P vision of creating the greatest island on the planet, you do not have to become an executive member, just to come forward and ask to serve.
Right. And let's talk a little bit about logistics, because this election process was scheduled for last Sunday.
Yes.
Of course, we understand the purpose to reschedule. Were there challenges now in having to now set up 1 week later?
No. Well, there were no significant challenges.
Right.
You might have had maybe a community center being pre-booked, maybe for a wedding or something, 1 or 2. But we were able to overcome that by booking early at alternative places. And of course, we're moving forward with all the resources that we would have gathered and everything, all the logistics that we had previously for last week Sunday. So it would be a smooth process. Any questions, feel free to contact me. The people are accustomed doing so, right? But the process is smooth.
What about the momentum? Again, you know, sometimes there's always this build up and you're waiting for this grand day and then it has to be rescheduled. Do you find that the momentum was lost because of this additional week, whether it's from the candidates or even some of your members?
Well, that would be based on my perception.
Yes, definitely, yes.
Right, so my perception, I don't believe that the momentum was lost. As a matter of fact, persons had more time to communicate with those eligible to vote. I'm still seeing those social media ads and those different pitches out there.
Right.
So I believe there is a momentum, but if you don't have the vibe, you better get it, because remember, you voting would determine your future. So you have to come out and ensure that you put the right people in your best judgment to lead you. Right? So it is important for you to come out and don't sit by the sideline and say, I don't care. If you don't vote, you don't have a voice. So ensure that your voice counts this time around.
Right, and that's always important. You know, you talk about your perception, and again, I'm asking you based on how you feel. How do you feel about this process going to happen on Sunday?
I am enthusiastic to get this process over with, because there are so many things that need to get done. We have an entire educational exercise to roll out in terms of building the greatest little island on the planet, and these administrative processes, you know, it takes a while. But you want the best people in these positions to lead that process, and that is why it's important for you, Tobago, to determine who should lead, right? If you don't have the correct people in the correct places, then of course everything will fall down. So it's important for you to understand the personalities and vote accordingly.
Right. Who are the candidates, and if you do I don't know if you came prepared with that on hand, but in terms of what positions are up for grabs on Sunday?
Right. I didn't come with it on hand,
Right.
but you know, there are obvious positions. You have the political leader, the general secretary, you'll have the treasurer, you'll have the, you know, yes, so it's up there.
Right. I think we have a list on
yes,
the
the chairman,
right,
a deputy chairman. So you'd have the assistants, of course, in terms of the assistant general secretary, the assistant treasurer, education and research, and of course the PR, public relations officer.
What I like, what I'm seeing is that all except maybe two positions, you have more than one person contesting.
Correct.
Yes, I think the public relations and communication officer, only one candidate is listed, Mr. Neil Jack.
Right, the political leader and the general secretary.
Right,
so
okay, so those three. So political leader, general secretary, and the public relations and communications officer. So only one individual is listed as a candidate for each position there, and the others, they seem to be well contested.
Yes, you have diversity.
Right, and I think that speaks to the process and what the party wants to achieve, because you're leveling the playing field and you have to come with your pitch in order to get the backing from the members, yes?
Correct.
What advice would you give, you know, the candidates? Again, you are a member of this political party. Some of the persons you may know well, some not so well, but they are putting themselves up to be the face of this political party. What advice would you give them?
Well, if at this point, and I'm just going on what you're saying there, so if at this point I don't know someone so well, then that means they didn't campaign sufficiently.
Right.
Yeah?
Yes.
So, but my advice would be to ensure that you understand the mandate, what your purpose would be on the executive. And, you know, sometimes you work in organizations or you're part of a school group, and you'll just have a few individuals working, and, you know, or the rest just going along for the ride. But in this instance, we are talking about a political organization, and building it, you're starting from scratch.
Right.
And you don't really need tag-alongs. You need everyone to contribute in the best way they can.
Yes.
Yeah. So my advice would be to ensure you understand the mandate, and once you are elected, you understand that you're there to serve and not necessarily just to hold on to power position because of your own personal ego and significance.
And let me just ask our director to put that list again on screen, because I just want to look at one particular position. Chairman, I see three names: Ms. Chrislyn Moore, Mr. Trevor James, and Ms. Ann Second.
Yes.
And I think, again, my perspective,
Yes.
I think the role of the chairman is very integral. Yes, you have your political leader, but I think your chairman really carries, you know, the organization. What do you have to say, or what advice would you share with whomever may become the chairman of the T.P.P?
And you are correct. Your perception is correct. The chairman is responsible for carrying, and let me say chairperson, because you have two women contesting, that they are responsible for carrying the party, marketing the party, ensure that you communicate the vision to the Tobago people. And you must not be just, you know, seeing one, you know, this, what do you call it, tunnel vision?
Yes, yeah.
Right? You have to be all embracing, humility. And for me, those personality traits of all of them, humility is the first for me.
Right.
Because any politician would tell you that humility, you exercising that actually increases your what you call it, your success in terms of reaching the public's needs. Yeah. So it's something that we all have to understand.
Right.
When people vote for you, you are there to serve. You can't get fed up, right? You can't get frustrated, because once you put yourself up for a servant leader position, then you have to understand that everything that you do now, it is for the people.
Definitely. And of course, as we wrap up this interview, I will allow you to rally the troops to come out on Sunday.
So I would say, the Tobago People Party, the Tobago-centric party that we have now, it is your opportunity to start from scratch, to build a party that is, Tobago focused, Tobago centric. And staying home doesn't make any sense because you know what? You'll just be falling back into, whatever happens. And we don't want that this time around. Your vote matters. So I want people to understand that. Come out, look at the personality traits that are there, and ensure that you put the right person in those positions. I know it's a tough job.
Yes.
But let them campaign. They're campaigning to me. I don't know who to choose yet, right? But I just want to say I love you all. And I wish you good luck.
Well said. And of course, just to add to that, I'm thinking this is part of history. So if you are part of this process, you are going down as the first. And we like to tell stories. So for those of you who will have grandchildren later on, you can go back and tell them the story. You're one of the first party members to vote in this process. So come out and vote. It's Sunday, July 7th. And just remind us the times again.
From 9 to 4, you can vote at your assigned polling station, right? So come out early. Let's make sure that we get to the polling station early because you want to cook your Sunday lunch, right?
And after you cook and you eat, problems later on.
Correct. So it looks like I'll be voting at the Calder Hall Multipurpose Complex, and then I go in and have some Sunday lunch by someone of my constituents.
And keep track of what's going on. So thank you so much. I would imagine you have a busy day ahead, and we want to thank you for sharing that information with us. Viewers, we continue having interesting conversations this morning, and on the other side of the break, you will meet Miss Trim. Which Miss Trim? That's a Tobago name. Which Miss Trim? Well, you have to be here when we return from the break to find out. So see you soon.
Save the new date, Sunday, 7th July 2024 for the Tobago People's Party internal elections between 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Do you know where to cast your vote? Well, based on your electoral district or community, you will be assigned a specific polling station. If you belong to the electoral district of Bonaccord, Crown Point, or Booker Mount Pleasant, your polling station is Bonaccord Primary School. Lambo Lowlands, Bethel New Grange, Signal Hill, Patience Hill. Your polling station is Dixieland Pan Theatre. Scarborough Mount Grace, Bagatelle Bacalet, Darrell Spring Wim. Your polling station is Calder Hall Multipurpose Complex. Residents of Charlottesville, Speyside and Delaford, Roxborough Argyle. Your polling station is Delaford Anglican School. Belgarden, Glamorgan, Mount St. George, Goodwood. Your polling station is Goodwood Secondary School. Plymouth, Blackrock, Bethesda, Laketo. Your polling station is Blackrock Multipurpose Facility. And Mariah Mason Hall, residents of Castara, Palatuvere and Lansford. Your polling station is Mason Hall Community Center. Please stay tuned for more information via Tobago People's Party social media handles.
Let's go. It's a brand new